What's happening, man? Tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News, the number one news source on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We have a big one today. Trump has come out and said that people should not be criminalized over marijuana as more states legalize. And does that mean that it is no longer a single issue voting election? We're going to dive into the things that Trump has said about cannabis and all of our other news stories for the week. Shout out to Maryland, having a little orange crush for Baltimore. Those guys sell a lot of weed and they have a wonderful opportunity. The winners, there's about 50 of them so far that we're aware of. Another 50 or 75 are raring to be issued by the MCA, Maryland Cannabis Association or Administration, soon. Looking forward to that. Orange Crush, drink from Baltimore. Let's get into our main story about Donald Trump.
To the Harris, to the walls.
To the Harris, to the walls.
What's up, guys?
That is a good one. Did AI come up with to the Harris, to the walls, or is that Miggy original?
I saw that on Crooked Media. John Lovett, and then he regretted
Crypto
it.
Media. John Lovitz made that up?
Yeah, or his staff. I mean, it's nice to have a writing staff, right? People to do shit for you.
You think John Lovitz has ever written any of his own jokes?
So, wrong John Lovitz, not the one from SNL. But
oh, wait, we're not talking about John Lovitz? I'm that guy, John Lovitz.
Yeah. Not the other. This is the better one, the other better guy. Anyways,
there's two John Lovitzes, dude.
Yeah.
If you think there's two John Lovitzes and you're just joining in, buckle up. What the fuck? Who's the other John Lovitz, bro?
He's just a political. He actually was on Obama's writing staff, and they got this podcast with Crooked Media. It's educational on politics and policy and things that are going on.
I just thought he was a comic.
No, it's a different guy, different Levitt, Lovett. So what do you guys think? I mean, like Trump coming in with like the old I don't think this should be like. Is it an election year or what, man? Is it?
We got this. Do they have it queued up?
The actual video
might be it. This might be it queued up. Let's do a little bit of tweaking right now because we can't just hit play as we have to hit share the audio. And so I'm going to take that off for a minute. Let me do a couple of things to see if we can. Okay. Yeah. And I think we're good to go on it. Let's see Donald Trump, the former president, talk about his position on weed, man.
Weed. Oh, no audio. Is your volume up? Is the volume on tab?
It's about scheduling marijuana. It's the audio that the person asked scheduling marijuana.
So your share. See the little mute button? Unmute. You can unmute. You gotta unmute your screen. I tried unmuting. I can't do it. I can't hear it. I can tell you, well, it's kind of like I wanna, but I heard good things about it. So I think I might. Who knows? Let's fucking go. What? Excuse me? You want to go, bro? You want to do this? Anyways, we are having some technical difficulty. Hey, we got that little skunk. I can smoke a little smoke. You want to share your audio again? You want to try it?
No. Did the audio work?
No. That's what I'm trying to.
The audio did not work.
It did not work. It was me miming for.
All right. Hey guys, we're gonna start needing to have like a checklist before we go live, and so get a checklist. Hey.
Well, just the noise software. I think when you shared it, you had a little unmute button on your side. I tried interfacing with it. I couldn't. So
just
I think
I think Will should be working on a new Mac Mini or we got to hook that up.
No, it's funny when you share your screen though. But yeah, but also his Wi-Fi sucks. So let's not go there.
Well, let's work on that. Let's work on that.
Yeah, you gotta go to Kentucky.
No, we'll take care of it. Okay. We have to see what the options are.
Yeah, but not surprised, dude. Not surprised that this is going to be the stance. I really don't think though. It's like the whole wishy-washy political state shit. It's like, well, he gave women's choice back to the states. Like, no one fucking asked for this. This is the one conversation that affects all Americans that everybody has been asking for that. believes in America, you know.
Everybody believes in America, except for maybe the person who's like running for president. And so I know that he believes in himself, who is an American, and therefore, through transitive property, he believes in America. Everybody loves Donald Trump that tunes into the show because most of the people who tune into the show are white dudes, and so that's white dudes tuning into the show. Cool. Hey, if you're a white dude tuning into the show, let me tell you something. Yeah, hit that like and be like, yeah, man, me too. Hey, look who you're talking to. Look who you're talking. Freaking so white, 73% Irish. But still, what he said makes me think it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to be a single issue voter this time around. So, like, Biden, I think it's going to get rescheduled. Well, so, like, he's not sitting there saying we got to stop this. He's sitting there saying, like, why are we doing it? Look, and so, like, Congress doesn't want to do their job.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to be on CNN. And so if you are in Congress and want to be on CNN, I fucking hate you, and you should do your job, because you're making 174 large a year, and you have a staff that's worth millions of dollars, and you have no revenue expectations. You dumb motherfucker. And so then you get amazing healthcare, and all of that. And the only thing you have to do is say, like, yeah, Schedule 3 would be good, because we don't know what we're doing. And we want you, the guys in the administration, to do our job for us and write us a law that we could then codify. Cool.
Codify would be nice. I mean, if it can actually last, right? Like, this is...
No, they can't write their own fucking laws. They can't write their own laws. And so they're having the Justice Department write the law right now as pursuant to the rulemaking process. I mean, it's like... when you go to law school and like you're generations deep and being an Eagle Scout and all this other stuff, and like people just expect shit from you, and then you like look at America and you see like, what the fuck, and you're like, what the fuck? And so why don't they do their jobs? Because the only thing they have to do is win the primary, and they're guaranteed a job. Schedule 3 is not trash.
No, it's
I have not been to that guy's dispensary. I'll go there. We should do a show.
That'd be dope. But the thing is, like, neither or is gonna fucking do the legalization part, right? Either Harris or
they want the administration to write the bill.
Yeah.
Because they don't want, and so if it becomes law because of Schedule 3, and that's the only thing, he's not allowed to regulate it. He's not allowed to like drop it from the schedule. And so if it has to become Schedule 3 through this rulemaking process, Congress has freeloaded, like amazing jazz song, Freddie the Freeloader, Miles Davis, right? Like, 1959 and all that. But they've freeloaded the entire job that they were elected to fucking do onto the Department of Justice's administrative head and the Office of Legal Counsel. Great work there, Congress. Hey, you know what you should do? Take the rest of the summer off. Oh, you already are? Okay, well, take the rest of the year off, because you need to get reelected, you douche.
Well, even this, why does the Supreme Court get a whole fucking summer off? But, you know, these are things that, like, are beyond my...
Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, Clarence Thomas could shoot someone and he would keep his job because it is a lifetime appointment.
Look,
yeah, everybody would rather have decriminalization.
We all would. We all would want...
Congress would have to do its fucking job. And they don't want to do their job.
We're just trying to achieve a realistic legalization where people all have a fair chance to be in business, and then consumers aren't fucking harassed, right? Like the people, like right now, the hemp guideline, you know, that couple in North Carolina got harassed for the smell because they're smoking Delta 9 or whatever the fuck they had from their legal vape shop. Like, do I agree with it, how the sourcing went? No, because there's still more things to be done in the regulation side as far as quality control, not fucking seed to sale. That's a stupid thing. That should only be within the company, right? That's a company metric. That should be I do care how much shit I grow, and it's going to be on the side.
Okay. We got to get the first principles of regulation. And so first principles of regulation for cannabis is same first principles of regulation for the gambling, you know.
Well, and again,
you
like,
want to make sure. No, it's worse than alcohol. It's similar. Like, the government is here to wet its beak and to control the supply. And so they want to be able to understand, like, we have OPEC, but for weed. We have OPEC, but for, are you betting today on the NFL? We got OPEC for that in America.
Mhm.
Like, we have regulation for gaming.
Mhm.
You want to go, I mean, you don't really speculate on Bud Light consumption, but if you want to go buy beers, we regulate that pipe so that we can tell how much of that thing is coursing through our interstate commerce.
Sure.
And Congress will, like, they do it for gambling, they do it for beer, they're doing it for weed. So when you have to approach the regulation from this vantage point where it's not going to be broccoli. It's not. It's going to be beer. It's going to be gambling. It's
Well,
going to be banking, you know?
Is it like beer though?
Yes.
Is it? But I mean, like, do they really? You have to register how many gallons you made. Is that a thing? Do you have to register how many gallons of whiskey and all that shit?
If you read, and like we talk about it on the show, I talk about it, like, people don't
you
care.
do.
They just care about, like, oh, I like this political persuasion, or I don't. So thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. And it doesn't matter, like, the information they give them. And so with the way that the law is written and the international law is written, it is strictly controlled. So much so that, like, the supply needs to be known at all times and in control of the federal government. That is what is on the table right now. And it's been on the table since 1970. That's the law of the land, and you're going to need to change it. And the guys over there that you've elected to change it, they don't want to change it.
But the ball's rolling, right? We're rescheduling. The ball is going forward.
And that's the big thing. Like with Trump, he doesn't seem like he's going to get in the way of that.
He seems like to be vindictive. He would be like, "Oh, that's going to be a good thing that I didn't start." So, you know, Harris is her vice presidential pick. Signed legality into a state. Tim Walz.
Oh, yeah. The most bullshit social equity legality that I've seen since Massachusetts. That Minnesota, you fucked up. But, like, Minnesota, if you're rich and you want all the licenses, call me, bro. We got until like midnight on Monday to fix this shit.
But how many people are really investing with that kind of change into sweeping up? Well, I guess you still got your MSO people still trying to be involved in things, but it's not going to be a good. So what do they got, lawsuits?
No, you just need to be rich in Minnesota. If you're some rich guy in Minnesota that wants a cannabis license, you could have had it. I could tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah,
it got flagged, and so we're not putting that. Like, there's a video that I did, and I'm gonna make it live. But, like, even if I do, I'm just gonna make it live after it closed, so like Tuesday. But like, it's about Minnesota, and so, like, if I do, it doesn't matter because, like, YouTube already flagged it because I'm telling you how to do the shit to get the license. And so, like, there's so much of this crap. It's like, okay, first off, just cut 4 out of 5 people out of the equation. They don't care about you. Now we have like 20% of the population that likes cannabis. And so that's it. Those are the only people that really use it. Those are your best ones. Now cut them in half, because half of them are going to like Trump and half of them are going to like Harris. And so now we have like 10% of the population. And then they have never really spoken about it.
About that too.
20 past the hour. Everybody, this is what we're fighting for. We have a little break from our sponsor.
There you go. There we go.
Collateral Base has something for you, the person enjoying an orange crush in Baltimore. Hopefully the orals are doing fantastic, and the crab cakes are also just whatever the kids are saying for good these days. There's 50 new license holders out there. Say, you know who did social equity way better than Minnesota? Maryland social equity up here. Minnesota social equity somewhere over here. But it doesn't matter. It's like, what's the policy? What's the policy they're trying to get?
Is there an entry fee? What's the
those entry fees are on both states. Price of admission is both sides. And so like, $1,000 non-refundable for Maryland for a micro, 5,000 for a regular. In Minnesota, 500 for a micro, 5,000 for a regular. But you can have one rich guy in Minnesota own every single license, or like he could sponsor every single application, provided that the 2-member operating agreement pay me has him at less than 10%.
I mean, everything can be manipulated in the system if you got enough money.
No,
but
absolutely not. And I especially hope that Chicago will not dump me on my ass and make me have to pay for some guy who I did not tortiously interfere with his contract. I don't understand how he could even say that. But, does social equity mean something or not?
wow, it's social equity, fairness, right? That's the whole the argument behind it, social equity, right? Like just the overall, just for the people that were hurt by this stupid rule that's been happening for how long? 80 years, 100?
Well, right. Social equity is supposed to remedy a wrong, and so the only way to really maybe effectuate that outside of the licensing rubric might just be for the R3 program that Illinois has done, which is what our loyalty program will support. Our loyalty program and the fees generated therein will support grant writers to get R3 grants for the community to rebuild it. The licensing aspect is completely different, because with the licensing aspect, you will have lottery hackers like myself, and then other people that have way fewer scruples than me doing whatever they can to take the license for pennies on the dollar and saying it's worth nothing.
No, I get it. Here's the thing: selling weed is not.
He's not wrong with predatory gifting. And so, like, what's the guy at High at 9? What's his name?
Oh, Jason Beck.
Jason. All right. So, Jason, like, we got this thing called the Social Equity Capital Contribution. And it's on my agenda, but it doesn't pay me any money. So it just kind of stays on my agenda. And the thing is, with that, if we create this new term of art and we tell the CANRA, look, if you want to do a social equity thing, first off, you cannot drive a bus through a 10% loophole, A. And then B, if you have if you limit the license numbers and have a social equity social equity capital contribution that is equal to the paper value of the license at the time of the contribution to the entity, you have saved social equity, because now you've capitalized them through the use of law that, by the way, created LLCs, created limited liability, created social equity. So why can't we create, like, how do we pay you fairly for what you did for our company?
You know what's funny is you pretty much like summed up, though, like selling weed nowadays. Like that's just how it is, opposed to the trapping philosophy, the way it used to be, right? Now
It ain't no trap.
I'm saying this is now.
And I don't like THCA. It is different, because that does not fix what they did. That does not legalize it. It does not regulate it. It does not turn it into a privilege. So it's like, I mean, can we at least treat it like gambling? Can we at least do that?
The thing, no, because gambling is you generally the house wins, right? But with legalization that we're trying, we would hope to happen, especially with rescheduling, would be like when I used to sell. I'd break up a quarter pound, sell it with a little bit of overhead I was looking just to pay back my own money back. But then also, like, if you're my friend, I give you a discount, lower, cheaper. When legalization happens, rescheduling it, there's going to be set price lists, right? Everybody is going to be on the same page when they're going to have to buy the same amount or pay for the same amount from the same guy, whatever it is. Now it's going to be about building relationships, same as it was before, but without this pretense that I'm your friend. Now it's about business. Like, look, if you make good weed, I'm going to sell your weed. It's not that hard.
It's Walmart. It's Walmart. Yep. But
go ahead.
We got more. We got more stuff. And so, like, what's the next story that we should cover, as we are 25 past the hour?
We got dozens of groups led by Anti-Drug Association urge Congress to adopt all-out ban on hemp-derived cannabinoids.
Yeah.
This isn't shitty. Yeah.
why is it shitty to put the horse back in the barn that is not natural weed being the thing that's legal? Natural weed should be more legal than Delta 8 THC.
Right. Well, I mean,
It should.
weed.
It just should. If you think that natural weed should be more legal than Delta 8 THC, please drop us a like, click subscribe, and a comment saying like, that's right. Natural weed should be more legal than Delta 8 THC.
So
or
it looks like
THCA flower. What the fuck is that noise?
Rep. Mary Miller from Illinois, your state, is trying to add amendment to the 2020 Farm Bill, which would approved by the House in May, would remove cannabinoids that are synthesized or manufactured outside the plant from the federal definition of legal hemp. So concentrates, essentially?
Well, what does the legal definition of hemp mean? When you say something is derived from cannabis, does that mean how much chemistry can you do before it's called synthetic?
Oh, got you. Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as you do
so
something,
like there was not a loophole class in law school. I was there. If there was a loophole class and they mattered, I should have gotten a whole, like there was a contracts class. And I don't even think in the like if I had the syllabus for my contracts from 1L year, I don't think that loopholes was like even one of the points that we had to cover for the final. And so like I don't like really subscribe to that, and I don't believe it. Like I've talked about like the that whole clause that the effect. It's like common law, the absurd result principle. And so there's things that are like principles of law, and then there's like articles and sections in statutes. And so we are a common law society, which means that you would go to the principle of law. Like the statutes were created after the fact. Like our laws go back to like Jesus and shit.
Well, like the
King
and Queen, but also like, but I mean that's it's also an evolution of morality, almost, you have to say, right? Because if you say it in the pretense of like it's based off against bullshit, then you got that whole nationalist type, like, oh, you know, it wasn't for the white people, America would never happen. But like civility, eventually, you know. I mean, you don't think there was like?
Oh no, I do. Down? I do. I think there's some dastardly white people in this country, like hundreds of, tens of millions of them. Millions.
But speaking of civility, what about this utility company in what is it, Bangor, Maine?
Bangor, Maine. Maine is kind of the it's the Massachusetts of further toward Canada, but it's also the Michigan of like the very northeast tip. And they have a fairly open market over there. So open that you could almost just pretend like you have a license, like in a Massachusetts. So that's the other reason why we advocate for the limited licensing structure. When you have social equity and you have like the license means something, the ability to conduct the business, like the ability to be able to do the distribution of the liquor was worth something
for now. But I think honestly, rescheduling will shake things up.
Like, yeah, I understand, but then like again, like what part of like 80% of people think that this is a vice that want it regulated?
What do you mean? Second,
80% of Americans think weed is a vice that they want regulated.
Oh, sure, but it's also medicine. That's the other problem, right? Like,
well,
you have this.
Medicines are also regulated.
True. Well, and that's why rescheduling is a great option for just getting to the path of legals. You know, with the rules,
the best,
the purchasing powers. I mean, this is going forward. But you know, right now in Bangor, Maine, a utility company proposal to rat out hidden marijuana operations to police raises privacy concerns. So that electric company, Versant Power.
Why do you have like a reasonable expectation of privacy for your commercial power use?
Interesting. That's a. I mean, you got to
disclose your commercial power to the federal government on your taxes. I don't think you got a reasonable privacy like expectation of what my utility bill was last month when I'm growing weed for money.
Well, here's the thing too. Is it reasonable suspicion? What if they see a house that's rating high, right? They didn't get a special transformer drop. They're just utilizing all the power in that
there's a
house.
distinction between privacy and not privacy, personal use and commercial use. And so is the primary purpose of that higher utility bill that you might see in the residential area personal use, especially if the laws of that state allow for that personal use, like mine in my basement? I'm redoing the basement garden, by the way, which is just it's fantastic.
Cool.
And you have to. And so, like, you could. Well, it's a pain in the butt, but then like the lettuce is just better, and so like your greens, not just your greens, but like all your greens, you could be growing in your basement. It's fantastic. And
well, for those who don't know, Tom actually has a green thumb. Like I remember though when you grew the Charlie Brown tree, which was hysterical.
It was hilarious. That was before
beautiful.
I understood pH. It was hilarious.
Beautiful.
It was hilarious. It was the most legal loophole bullshit hack about growing a plant you've ever seen. It was just a nugget that's about 5 inches high because that doesn't count as weed in Illinois. But it only happened because it was an autoflower plant being poisoned because the tap water's pH was too high.
Well, and everybody should have this chance to learn about growing, right? Growing weed supposedly is easy, right? But growing good weed is fucking hard. Yeah, period.
If you have good genetics and understand how to grow, and if you've gotten the harvest in and you paid attention,
yeah,
I think it is a learned skill, but I think it's a learned skill like playing football, and like very few people get to play football for money, and and this is easier to make money than football because of the popularity of the product. So I almost think it's more like brewing beer. Like there can be enough brewers in your city. There can be enough growers in your city. It's not the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, with that though, we should look at one and call it something.
Let's do that. Let's play some Name That Strain. There is our logo. All right, there's me.
Pretty purple. Got the purples.
Purples, like those dirt purples. Dirt purples, but they're deep, so they're dirt purples. But yeah, that is so popular these days with the exotics. Very often, like an indica.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess indica doesn't really. It's just a name that we understand the frame of reference to. It's not really a thing.
I got an article on that next, actually at the end that I didn't share for you guys yet. But this is a dominant mix of Northern California purple strain. Claim, I guess it's harvested by Mendo Perps and other granddaddy.
Cool. Yeah, Mendo.
I like its name though. It's got an interesting name. It's very military.
Wait. Maybe we should do. Let me look what the name is, and then we can go to our next story, and then we will just drop as many hints into our next story. And maybe that's what we should do for Name That Strain. It's like we do the strain, and then we do a story with as many name dropped hints about what the strain is we can. However, like there's like 317 people tuning in. Oh, yeah. One of the things that I'm worried about is all the podcasts that I watch are not live.
Well, it's a weird world we live in, right? Because your mindset of how, like, we thank you for hanging out with us, everybody. Fuck yeah. And then apparently sharing it to other people who stay with us, and then also, keep sharing. But people, they're viewing us in their grows and they're fucking, and then hopefully now dispensaries and pot shops, which is pretty awesome, right? Like, it's cool to be part of the lexicon now. But the live thing, dude, like, there's like kids. Like some of these streamers, H3, fucking 20, 30,000 people be popping up live. No, I don't worry about the live thing. I think it's more on our toes.
But then would this podcast get more views if we only were live for our members and then we polish the F out of it and then publish it at the same time? And so like we would do our show only for our members first day.
Yeah.
And then like we polish it and then like we could make it a premiere. so that the chat can be going on. And then and so it's a reason to be a member, because then you'd see it live. But then after that, are all the podcasts that I see that like YouTube like serves me, none of them are live?
Because we talk about weed, we don't. This ain't our main steez. This is not how we make a living, but pretty close to.
Yeah, but like how many
yours is,
podcasts
actually.
does YouTube like serve you and say, like, hey man, you might like this podcast?
I got a lot of tech podcasts, but
How many are live? How many are live?
One or two.
Out of, because like I get like no live suggestions. Like the
Well, I like
only live
stories.
suggestions that I see sometimes are like if they're currently live at that time, like the Dales Report or Chad Westport, or even now again, like what's the name of that one that isn't? They're out of
Dude
California.
Grows.
No, those guys that when they're live, you get like notice of that. So
Mhm.
you do just see notices of when people's are live.
Yeah,
But doesn't that apply if you're premiering it?
I think it all does.
You get the same kind of virality from that, because then it would be like more polished. Like this crap right here, gone.
And again, we're trying to lock in a way to make money out of this bitch one day. I mean, media.
Schedule 3 will allow you to be. Do you have any idea how few expenses you allow if you are taxed on gross profits and not net revenue? Do you have any fucking idea how onerous that is? If you're selling THCA, no, you do not.
What about hemp? Unless you're hemp, right? Don't these guys have some sort of like recourse for write-offs and doing all that shit that they do?
Yeah, hemp gets to play by a whole different set of rules. And so like it's in the same price. They get to set the same price point, but they do not get to play by the same expense line items.
And
yeah, I had to like just flip my law firm's email address because the word cannabis was in it and the TLD, top level domain.
Thanks, Tom. But you even got your Stripe account deleted. Like you fundamentally make money at this bitch and get denied and closed. Like, I know, like, since I think that part adds to the street cred or whatever. I don't know, but fucking, I'm here for you, man. We've been doing this for a long time. Rescheduling, if it did happen, though, we got this report coming out about cannabis research lags growing U.S. market. Federal report finds, or no shit news because it can't fucking be research. You know what I mean?
Okay. And so let's do that research one. Talk more about that, and I'll look at the name that strain. By the way,
that's right.
Put that back on up there. So we will now do this story about research limits while providing suggestions as to the name of that strain.
Well,
go back to take 2. I wanted to show everybody.
Oh yeah, you're good, man.
Yeah. Okay. Go. You do your thing.
Okay. Cool. You're good. So, just kind of redundant news with the fact that, they haven't been able to do research on it because of the Schedule 1 plant, but research still face barriers and red tape studying cannabis, particularly to those closed and state licensed dispensaries. So I personally go for it.
For example, like they don't know the actual dominant mix of these Northern California purple strains. Some say it's Mendo Purps. Others say it's Granddaddy Purple. And maybe some say it's an indica from Afghanistan that you're seeing right there. And so how would that bill with the research kind of implicate that? Like we would be able to maybe know their parents more in the future?
Ooh, yeah, that'd be definitely traceability. Because there are many unknowns. About 22% of Americans aged 12 and older reported using cannabis in the past year, according to the 22 data cited in the report. I wish I said report.
But do they say which ones appeal to those children? For example, the buds that you're seeing are bulbous and purple, and they are producing a fruity grape aroma that gives way to sweet flavors of pine and berry. Could that be something that you would see? That's pretty close. The Afghan purple is pretty close, but it is
kind of in a ball shape, would you say?
There's definitely balls in the name.
The report also noted that the Food and Drug Administration has approved limited cannabis-derived medications, including Epidiolex for certain seizure disorders, synthetic THC drugs for nausea and appetite stimulation in specific conditions. Again, rescheduling it would help fix these issues. We'd have such a better understanding.
But donk.
Hey,
I got it. I got it. I said it.
Fun. I'm surrounded by assholes. Someone put Spaceballs.
Yes. Who hired that asshole? I did. He's my cousin. Yeah.
We got some Kentucky.
Yep, purple
news.
monkey balls.
Oh yeah.
Sedative
Yeah.
indica effects that produce deep relaxation, great for chronic pain, and best saved for the end of the day. If you need to remain productive, use this later.
We got some Kentucky asked medical marijuana license applicants to create extensive plans. Did you look at this one?
Oh, yeah. We know about Kentucky. Kentucky
Okay.
is doing a fantastic job compared to Minnesota, and they are telegraphing them exactly what they are looking for. The only thing that I wish we had a little bit more knowledge on is there is no such thing yet. And this is maybe the regulators of the law just getting ahead of themselves. As financial institutions that lend to weed companies.
Mm.
I applaud you like putting that into the law, to a certain extent, calling financial institutions. But I would request that you be pragmatic and allow private financial institutions to lend to the cannabis, because like the entire cannabis industry right now is on private equity. You may not know that. And so like private equity is what's funding this because it's fucking illegal. It's a Schedule 1 substance. And so you can't get out of it. Now, if it's Schedule 3, maybe banks will jump in. And I'd love that.
Right.
But it's got to be where you're at.
But is that what's stopping the banks right now? Is because there's no check mark
Yes.
in the check, right? Pretty much. Just
Correct. Like it is literally textbook definition, literally money laundering. Our bank account, like we are not allowed to do any of the business. That's according to the terms of our license. We can't do the business. We have to get the location fine, and then we can do the business. And so we do not have any money laundering. But then once you have that new license and the location that's compliant, then it becomes money laundering according to current federal law. I'm hoping by the time we open, it is not that. But we have to get the rescheduling and then maybe also a patch from rulemaking from the FDA.
Sure. But, again, selling legal weed is not what I thought selling cannabis would be about, how the process is, but it's kind of expected, because it has to follow some sort of regulatory body model that, when people say regulation, they think, oh, there's like these Nazis and clipboards coming to poke at the plant. But that's not really the case. It's a case of someone having a means to put a bank account open, have workers' rights. There's so many layers to this. Rescheduling can help this ball roll. Unfortunately, though, right now it is a rich man's game. Unless like us,
it's always every bookie on the street corner did not get an address on the strip at Vegas.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, that's a great point.
You're getting into money laundering. You're getting into a highly regulated cash it's not gambling, but we want to trust you like it's gambling type of business. And so welcome to the industry. It's extremely regulated. There's cash and background checks involved. If you want a primer, watch the movie Casino. That's the industry. You need to be able to handle cash, go through background checks, understand access control areas, inventory control protocols, cash handling protocols, all of that kind of crap. If you were a dealer at Vegas, they make okay bud tenders because the skill set's transitive.
But most business in general deals with that, right? There's got to be in the back end,
the person doing the thing over at the Dairy Queen, the guy who's running the counter at Dairy Queen, way less, the cash handling and all that type of stuff, where it's not all in cash. It's more like a casino or a bank where you have a vault because of the volume that's coming in. And so that's what Schedule 1 versus Schedule 3 means. And so the compliance costs of running these things are higher,
Well, I mean, like being a bud tender is not a gateway to like have a 9 to 5 and you know, it's just like the a stepping stone into a company. I mean, if you want more for yourself, I guess bare minimum is always good for some. But you know, hey, we got a Delaware story.
Relates with age. Let's do Delaware. Yeah.
Yeah. Delaware officials will start accepting adult use marijuana license applications ahead of schedule this month. So this is how legal weed happens, folks. I mean, this is how if you want to deal legal weed in the world, you gotta go apply for these fucking applications and hope you win, fingers crossed. And then after that, you know, do like we're doing, where you try and secure property, try and then you're gonna have to do the staffing part. That part I'll be excited for because that means we already secured property.
You know? Oh, yes. And that also means that now we have to have this type of insurance, this company protocol, this handbook, and here's how you get a dunning and then also excavated or like, you know, terminated, because like it is an employee industry. And so like the first employee, probably, because like we're going to do the shoestring as much as we can because like money, please. Like,
well, we're gonna. I think we're. I hope as a business, you know, being business owners, we create and provide a good environment, and then also be assets to the community, right? Like that's. Yeah. I mean, that's a goal for me, you know, as a human being. But yeah, so and you know what? I really enjoyed your video that you just did. What was it on the whole juxtapose of how to start a dispensary? How each state has different rules and games, right? And you even mentioned so like the Office of the Marijuana Commissioner. So these are the ones in charge of. So every state's name is different too. Here it's Washington State.
Name's different. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
OCM is like you see more OCMs, but then like you don't see that many OCMs. Like there's a couple like throughout it, but then it has to do like or CDC in Ohio. A lot of it is still in the health departments. Maryland, Missouri's in the health department. Maryland may also be in the health department, but they have like a cannabis administration. And so this type of regulation is so novel and new, the states don't know where to put it. The feds don't want to do the job. And so they're making the Justice Department do the job of Congress. And then they're going to blame the Justice Department because they're not elected. But Congress didn't want to write any laws that would become a thing.
Sure.
It's messed up.
Well, but it still had to get descheduled regardless, right? Like, I mean, descheduled, we'd all want that. So
it has to be descheduled, but it can't get descheduled until you understand how to regulate it. And so, like, you have to pass it through this lens of Schedule 3 so that Congress is like, we should codify this.
Right. Right. Like,
let me do my job. Let me do your job for you. Because, like, you know, you got to go back to your district.
I think they're just too busy being Instagram celebrities or whatever fucking social media thing.
That's it. Like they want to do, and like Nancy Mace is one of the worst at this. Like she was like, I have this thing that I'm going to go give to somebody, and you're like, okay.
Well, I just the whole Republican Party. I hate to say, even though Trump came out and said like he doesn't believe, like there's just a level of cuckoo. Like the extreme right is like a lot of racist and just dumb people, and then the extreme left is just like really like I guess socialism. I don't know what the fuck is on the extreme left, like what's over there, but it's not as crazy as the other side. Yeah, it's all like
that side tends to go back to religious fanaticism, and then the other side, that side tends to go straight up commie. And you're like, hey, come on, we have property rights and personal privacy issues, and you're like, yes. And then the other side's like, yes, and not if you have this. And you're like, wait a minute. I thought, how can we have any freedom if we don't have the freedom to be left alone?
Well, the unfortunate thing is, my cat just got excited by something. The unfortunate thing is, this is a two-party system we live in. Yeah, she's all politics, fuck.
Politics.
People think,
hey, let's talk about politics. How about crazy rich politics news? We got some crazy rich politic news. This is from Florida. Did you see the billionaire?
Yes. From the,
well, this one's out of Beard Bros. So let's do a shout out to them. And I've clicked the wrong thing because like sometimes we tried to do an audio one later. That did not work.
That's good. Yeah, Beer Bros.
Done both, actually. And so, Yeah, no, that's good. Because when you're worth billions of dollars, you still want to maintain that deer in a headlight look. So billionaire Cordell Griffin, Kenneth is his first name. So became a billionaire the old-fashioned way, being named into it. And he's going to give 12 million bucks to the opposition, the
Yeah.
opposition, $12 million to oppose legalizing weed in Florida. Citadel Hedge Fund. That has the naming convention of I'm going to name this the thing that inspires you to give me money, so you don't even look into what Citadel Hedge Fund does.
You know, it's funny. So High at Nine, Jason's a Republican all the way, no matter what. And I think it's funny. So he's coming as a political favorite to Ron DeSantis, right? So the Republican Party clearly has a slant against cannabis. But then I saw a tweet by Roger Stone where he was all like, this helped my parents and shit. And I'm like, they must be going through some weird shit. Like that's why they're always confused, because mom and dad.
Because it always comes down to religion, and it's like good people
Yeah.
don't do this, and it's like, are you kidding me? Because good people are doing it, and it's that type of. It's all about freedom and personal liberties until it's like, but religion says do this, and so you must do what religion says, and you go, okay, you realize that is the antithesis of freedom and do what you want, because you just said because God, we all have to do this. And if you read like Project 2025's crap, it's like basically that. And so whenever the Republicans are like, oh, but you believe in, American and money and guns and all this other stuff, I'm like, yeah, but you devolve into like organized religion and just completely lose all of it.
Question, because he made this comment. It's like, are I know votes are public, so like there is a way to go when he votes finally to be like, oh, now we know where he
I don't know if
stands.
they're public. It's a private ballot very often.
I think they are public. I believe there's a way to. I mean, there has to be, right?
But that's one of the reasons why I believe in open primaries, where we should just have open primaries so that Marjorie Taylor Greene is running against Marjorie Taylor Greener. And so they kind of split that crazy vote, and then you have way fewer weirdos in Congress.
I don't think that's gonna be a thing. There's going to be the weirdos.
It worked in Alaska. That's why Sarah Palin's gone.
Oh shit, that's right.
And so, like, if we could get rid of Sarah Palin, we can get rid of all of those nutbags. Both sides. Everybody, look, it's not just the Republicans that are nuts. The Democrats also have nutbags, and if you had open primaries, you can get rid of all of the nutbags. Because let's say it's like a very safe Republican seat. The only thing you have to do is get through the primary. So if the top 3 candidates go through, that might be like a normal conservative Democrat representing that area, because 2 crazy Republicans tried to take 60% of the vote each.
Yeah, so he answered my question. I didn't know. He says no, they can't, but they can tell if you vote or not. That's it.
Yeah,
just can't tell which way. But speaking of, there's always like a lot of sad weed news. We got some positive weed news.
Positive weed news, everyone.
Yeah, marijuana, come from marijuana moment, of course. Marijuana users have better outcomes following heart attacks. New study finds point to the cannabis paradox. Google that.
Oh, the cannabis paradox. Is that like the French paradox, but with weed instead of red wine?
I mean, this sounds it should be a 30-minute special. See, findings of newly published study show.
If there was this 30-minute special about that, it would be immediately flagged 18+.
Oh no, our plight. The findings of our study reveal a paradox, researchers wrote, among patients 18 to 80 years old admitted to hospital with acute myocardial infarction between 2001 and 2020 in the United States. Cannabis use was associated with lower risk of complications such as cardiogenic shock, acute ischemic stroke, cardiac arrest, and this is going to fuck this one up, percutaneous coronary intervention use, as well as lower in-hospital mortality despite correcting for several confounding factors. Like I say in the Navy, dude, I'll just push the I believe button. That was a lot of shit that I'm not a doctor.
Miggy is not a doctor, but he is entertaining you.
I believe it. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm like, yay.
You know what? I'm going to push back on the Miggy's not a doctor thing for just a little bit. Dr. Bronner, not a doctor.
Ooh. Not like a
So
medical doctor?
wait a minute. I'm just wondering, Dr. Miggy, what is the cheapest medical degree we can get to bestow the term upon you of doctor? I bet we can get you to be Dr. Miggy for less than $5,000.
I'm a reverend.
Does that count? Let's ask
Yes.
the AI. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Miggy and Tom Esquire always try to appeal to authority so that people listen to you.
Dr. Dabber.
Dr. Dabber, not a doctor or a dabber. Dr.
Are they still around? Dr. Dabber?
Dr. Dabber?
Yeah.
That's
Dr.
a real thing. I just thought that was
Yeah.
Dr. Miggy Ford.
No, there was a whole line of like. Well, I used to vape. I used to smoke concentrates, but I prefer flower all the way. You know, I like Cairo cannabis. And then also good news: teen marijuana use has fallen over the past decade as more states enacted legalization. New CDC reports.
Again,
What?
there is a thing that happens when you're told not to do something. It becomes something you want to do because you've been told not to do it. And so when cannabis becomes something grandma and grandpa do because they got arthritis and it's legal and they have a card and all this other stuff, it loses its power. Like you haven't created this temptation paradox. It's like, well, why are they telling me not to do it? I almost want to do it now because you're telling me not to do it. Oh, I have to try this thing that I can't have. As opposed to, no, grandma needs this. Why? Arthritis. Lame. And then they want to go be brat or something.
Well, when you mix with the taboo, it's always going to be a thing like more enticing. When I was in this town in Oregon, they had one pot shop, and you know, being now that we're in the business, I'm always curious about like supply and demand. Now I'm like observing things now, and he's like, so I go in there, and they didn't have a lot of flour. I mean, they had some; it was all quality because it was in Oregon, but I was like, you know, what's your clientele? How busy are you? He's like, it's mostly edibles and ointments because it's in the retiree area off the shore. So obviously tourists, they bulk up in flour during that time frame. And then the rest of the year, it's freaking ointments and edibles, which, wow, that would make sense, though. It's funny how like our store is going to have to try and adapt. We're going to have to try and find the customer in Peoria. We need to find who's...
Right. There will be automations involved. And so sign up for your loyalty program and learn about what your customer wants and then give that to them. And
Sure.
Just fundamental entrepreneurial business 101. Like that's it. It's like, what does your customer want? Here you go, buddy.
Right. Well, and also it's also a way of building the market. Shout out to Ohio's new expensive weed.
Right on. They sell it by the 10th out there.
Fucking hell expensive too.
10 tenths for an ounce, they used to call it in Ohio, because Ohio, why are you here? And Ohio is an interesting place. They have a regulated market. Reminds me a little bit more of Missouri, but for some reason, they sell by the 10th.
And it's expensive.
But I don't understand that, like, you can go buy 2.83 grams. So that is like 1/10 of an ounce. So why is Ohio on the metric system for ounces? Like, and so they're on the metric system. They're on the non-metric system because they sell it by the 10th of the ounce.
There's probably something to be said about being a flyover state, but
I don't know what the fuck they're even doing with that regulation, bro.
Well, you know, Kentucky, I shared with us in the Slack earlier, the Kenton Commonwealth Attorney Rob Sanders, apparently the AG for the area, is saying, you know, legal marijuana sales in Ohio will prompt legal reminder from border state prosecutors. So, you know, Kentucky still lives in a fearful state.
Kentucky, January 1st, 25 medical cards. Go get them in Kentucky, man. You got to get them. Because like Kentucky has so much pain that can be treated through medical cannabis. Unfortunately, you can't have it in flower form. We think it's going to be a lot like Florida, where eventually you'll get your flower, but then it's going to start with, like you said, you know, ointments and edibles.
Yeah.
Maybe some vapes as well, because I think they're allowed to do vapes, but no flower to start.
Now, rescheduling would help, right? Everybody in every state,
Well,
Kentucky, Ohio.
yes, because then it's hemp taxed. Now
Yeah.
everybody plays by the same tax rules. And then if the FDA creates rulemaking that says that what they're doing, like again, it's natural cannabis. That's what Schedule 3, natural cannabis, not Delta 8, not all these weird things, but natural cannabis, it may be able to have its own lane. So that if you're using natural cannabis, the FDA could then change rules that say, based on this, currently accepted medical use for pain and other palliative care, natural cannabis, which they could then make sure that they've tested so that when the supply chain is pure. So the supply chain is pure for the first time nationwide. Supply chain will be pure. It's going to be beautiful. That type of thing, having its own lane, would then make it completely legal. And that's when you can get it dropped out, because now you've created a regulation that works internationally because of the way we have our shit set up. And then it's like actually tracking all the product, and then you can drop it out, because then Congress has to say, we're going to deschedule. Fuck the United Nations.
Well, I mean, there's going to be a point. I mean, that's never going to happen in any of our lifetimes. But with the rescheduling, Jason says it's going to make it harder. High 9 says, oh, it's going to make it harder. But the harder part's going to be the policy.
It's a conservative that tends toward doom.
Hemp
Jason,
cannabis,
you need to be like way more optimistic, bro.
Yeah. And again,
go Camel.
Fundamental overall equity for everybody. We'll be all in the same playing field. There'll be a chance for consumers to have proper defense, and businesses to find a way to create in their state. There'll be a path for being a business.
Mm-hmm.
We still got arrest here, or not arrest, thieves. I got an article about a shop in Redmond was hit 4 times in less than a year. Like, if safe banking, any of this shit can happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they would give more provisions for like protections and shit.
This is the cash handling. That's why I'm saying, like,
exactly.
You can't look at yourself like you're just selling weed. You're not selling weed. You're not just a bud tender. Like it's like you're a dealer at a casino. Like there's money and there's product here, and so like you have to be cognizant about it, and and then you have to get approved, by the and so you hire somebody, go get them fingerprinted, and then get that card issued. I mean, they can start working while it's pending, but at the same time, they need to be approved. Yeah.
I mean, fucking weed shops get hit more than jewelry shops. Like, that's not even like, when's the last time we heard of a jewelry robbery in the United States?
Well, you could because that's the nice thing about jewelry stores. That'll be $1,000,000, Mr. Carruthers. Here's my black card, or my crystal importance card, or like I'm going to be able to get a free drink on the next airplane that I'm on card. Like they would then swipe it.
Yeah.
And so the asset, the diamond, leaves, and then the cash is digital. You're not going to rob them.
Part of it's all education. I don't know if you saw this. We're about to wrap it up. I know you're feeling it. But I saw this article on National Geographic. Indican sativa science suggests there's no actual difference. So I think it'd be interesting to read. A little homework for the folks at home and myself, because I haven't read it. Right. But I know the premise. Well, it won't let me play now. The board.
Sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, but next week I will be in Minnesota. So come see me in Minnesota, by the way, if you are. And then I will rag on the Minnesota social equity and be like, this is just like Massachusetts. And so why do you even do that? You're just window dressing and virtue signaling. And they will not like it.
Maybe I'll run into Trevor with his drinks, the Freedom Grow drinks.
I'll run into Trevor. I'll run into some people. I might run into Cameron from South Dakota, which would be sweet. And then some other people, and definitely the Meta crew. So Dimitri should be out there. We'll be doing some live stuff. Hopefully, like we would do the show on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah.
I gotta get my rig over there and then see how it works. But then we would do the show Saturday, and then make it
maybe we don't make it live. That's the problem, though, because then we can try to like gear it through there. But I don't know what my throughput's going to be. Like, I don't know what the because they got the 5G and all that stuff, but you have to be able to get it, and then it depends on how many people are there.
Yeah. Well, internet at conferences always suck, but you know, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right, what are you
Yeah.
doing next week? Then you got anything you want people to check out?
No plans. Be here next week.
Tune in next Saturday. I might be live from Minnesota, or we'll only do it for our members so that we save on bandwidth. And then tune in next Sunday. It'll just be on.
There you go. All right, brother. Get us out.